Hello game fans and welcome to another interview from Game Anglia. And right now I'm speaking to Liz Mercuri from Unity. She was very good that she came over and she's done an excellent talk today, and she was very kind that she decided to come over and talk to us in the interview room. First off, the first question I wanted to hit you with was, what is a Unity educational evangelist?
Okay, so the evangelist team at Unity are kind of like the front line into sort of our internal workings and the community. So we're out there to take new features and new demos, to go and do presentations, speak to our development community, and just sort of empower them with what's coming up with Unity and what's coming next. We want to make it as easy as possible for the community to develop cool things. So the educational slant on that is that I also do the same thing, but in schools and universities too. So we're exposing what Unity can do to students at an earlier age so they can just be the powerhouse and take over the world.
Excellent.
Sooner.
And so you mentioned that you're going into schools. So what's the starting age for people on Unity these days?
So we usually find that secondary school and up into university is a great starting point for Unity, sort of 11 upwards. But what we do have is something called the Playground Project, and it's totally free online, it's on GitHub. And the Playground Project is a great interface for introduction to Unity. So maybe for people who are that little bit younger or who don't have any experience with game development. And it's just a really simple drag and drop project that you can build sample games quite easily with. So there's a library of sample games and some great sort of tutorials to get started.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so you're going to schools, and so what kind of support do you offer to these schools? Do you set up computer clubs? Do you just give them all your software and a set of plugins? So what kind of things do you do for the schools?
Yeah, so Unity has a free license for education, and we also have something called the Unity Toolkit. So the Unity Toolkit is almost like a syllabus. So it's like a set of learning outcomes that has theory behind it, but you can use Unity as a practical example. And you can go to unity3d.com/education for details on our free edu license and the toolkit.
Okay.
And then we also have certification and courseware. So the courseware is a set of video tutorials. There's like over 20 hours of tutorials on creating a game in Unity, and it covers like all areas of Unity, from sort of setting up a scene to animation to lighting, and so it's really nice to slot alongside an existing development course, and then there's the certification at the end to sort of validate that experience.
Oh, that's fascinating. So I have two daughters, so when I'm creating my game, she'll help, she'll get the pencil and paper out, she'll say, what about this kind of level, and she'll sort of she'll help out. So it's fascinating to think that now we can go to the Unity website and say there is a sort of a course for young game designers to start out.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I think the Playground Project fits into that quite nicely. So for example, my nephew, he's 7, and I've had the Playground Project open with him, and we've just been putting a scene together, and then he'll be like, I want monkeys in this. And it's just so easy to swap that sprite out, and he'll be like, this is amazing. So yeah, it's great.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what interesting things have you seen come out of this sort of education partnership and involvement? It's
crazy how fast the talent pool is growing. So we have a short video called Adam that was made for GDC.
Yeah.
And so we have the assets on the asset store for free, and
they're impressive assets as well.
They're incredible.
They're beautiful, yeah.
Really beautiful assets. And we got an email from a university in Bristol very recently, and they were like, hey, our students made a short film with our Adam assets, and it was insane. We were like, what? 6 students made this? And so it's really exciting to see what our students are creating. And like this year, Unity was awarded the BAFTA Young Games Designers Hero Award for sort of empowering the students.
Yeah.
And I think when you see things like that, when you see the assets we've put out there for free and what's being created, and how some students that have used Unity have come to be now fully fledged game development studios like SigTrap Games or Team Junkfish, it's just testament to, if you give people the assets, yeah, and sort of reassure them and nurture them with workshops and like online free content, like the crazy things they can make.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I suppose the recently released timeline has really, it's almost not only given people the power to make cutscenes a lot easier, but pretty much create short films, just straight from scratch. So
yeah, definitely. And that's what we want to do, that's why we do this. This is why I did the talk today. Just wanted to show how simple it is to just create a very short cinematic in a short amount of time, and then the world's your oyster if you sort of want to make something and you've got the tools. It's just crazy.
And so the big thing at the moment is developing for VR. Mm-hmm. When you go into the educational institutions, is that part of now where the syllabus is going to say, this is where you should be looking?
Yeah, so we have a network of accredited training partners. And so they are institutions that work with Unity that we've sort of given our stamp of approval, and they create awesome workshops and awesome content. And a number of them do focus on virtual reality, and actually not just for games as well, which is super interesting. So INCAS in Germany is a big one. And more we get accredited training centres that are signing up and have a slant on virtual reality. More and more we get requests as evangelists to develop and deliver virtual reality. Sure. So I think that the demand for it is definitely there, and especially non-games. A lot of demand for it in sort of research, medical, automotive, visualization. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you've done a few talks in GDC all about VR. So you obviously have a passion for VR. So where do you see the future lying? So is it going to be mainly in these third-party areas, like we're in the automotive and medical systems? I'll let you elaborate.
I think absolutely. And earlier on today, in sort of the closing session of Game Anglia, someone asked John Romero the same. And I completely agreed with what he said. I think virtual reality is on the up, but definitely I see it being adopted more outside of games. And actually, again, as John said, augmented reality seems to be where it's at with games. So if you just need to look at Pokemon Go, made with Unity, to see sort of the impact of augmented reality.
Yeah, that was an interesting point. So John said that until they can overcome the biological factors of VR, there's going to be a huge part of the audience which is going to find it dizzy, confusing, because of inner ear issues or all this kind of stuff. So until we can fix that, it's going to struggle in games.
Yeah, for sure, I agree.
Okay, so where should, a lot of our audience that are going to see the video, and a lot of our audience here today are budding young developers who either just started the course here at the University of Suffolk, or they've just started a studio. So where should they go for help in Unity? Where are your sort of insider tips to say, okay, I've got Unity myself, what next? Where should I go?
Okay, so lots of resources. So if you're a student who's wanting to get your project out there, maybe looking for work, we have something called Unity Connect, and that's kind of like the LinkedIn of Unity.
Right, okay.
So students can post their projects, their portfolios, and they can also browse the companies that are registered on there that are looking for jobs. So that's a great way to get your name out there. Secondly, the Learn channel is just full of free tutorials across all areas. So you've got your audio, lighting, animation, whatever you're looking for, you can find a free tutorial for that. Also, if you go to the Unity website, to the events page, we have all our sort of free webinars that are listed there as well, and so they cover all areas, and you can just tune in absolutely for free. Another resource I'd recommend, which I think is really great, is so we have annual conferences every year all over the world actually, called Unite.
Yes, yeah.
And so if you go to our YouTube channel and look for the Unite conferences, like for example 2017 has loads of talks on Cinemachine and Timeline. So if you're wanting to know about our new features, definitely check our website for our YouTube channel for the Unite talks too.
Sure. Okay, and I got the email a couple of months ago that you were doing sort of a 2-day sort of training course in London. I think it was you could either be a beginner level to do 2D, or you could at intermediate level do 3D. Wasn't that the first of its kind?
Yes.
Are you going to be doing a lot more?
Yeah, it's exciting. So that was the first of its kind. So we've launched 3D and 2D workshops across Europe, Middle East and Africa. And then I'm going to be holding the first virtual reality workshop on Monday, next Monday, 27th in Brighton. So that's going to be the first VR workshop now they're rolling out as well.
Fantastic.
So yes,
sold
definitely in the pipeline.
What can I still do?
Getting there, we're getting there. There's only a few places left.
Excellent.
Which is quite exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my next job.
And so obviously you've seen Unity grow over the years. Do you have any particular plugin that you're a fan of, or is there any templates that you're a fan of? What's the best thing that you think's on the asset store?
I think there's always so much awesome stuff and so much going on. Very recently, a friend of mine called Bruce Slater, he's from Radford Studios, had his asset on there called Blockout. That was quite exciting just to see sort of friends.
Is that the prototyping one?
Yeah. So that was nice because I know he's been working hard on that, so to see that on the featured list on the asset store was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But also it's just, we listen to our community. So we see things go on the asset store, and like Cinemachine, for example, that was an asset store plugin once.
Yeah.
We see what the community uses and what it wants, and then we listen. So now, Cinemachine's
it's free as well.
Free and new and inherent in Unity. So
so what does the future hold for Unity then?
I think the cool thing about working at Unity and sort of the futureness of it, futureness is a word, is that they're always ahead of the curve. So when mobile was coming up, we had lots of mobile cool stuff. When VR was on the up, we had lots of VR cool stuff. So now I'm just really excited to see what happens next. I think whatever is coming up, whatever the developers want, whatever the community wants, we're always listening, and so sort of watch this space. We're just going to keep getting better, I think, is the message.
Excellent.
So yeah, giving you cool things to make cool things.
Absolutely. And my last question, which I've been asking all of the speakers today, was so you've done game development, you've looked at VR, you've helped schools to create games. So you've had a really sort of roller coaster ride in the games industry. But say, for example, that you could go back in time to just as you come out of university, you're still sort of planning what to do with your life and how you're going to go into game development. What advice would you now give to your younger self to move forward in the industry?
I think that when I did my games design degree compared to when I did my master's in programming, how much more opportunity there is now, and how games are deemed so much more as a viable career option. And so my advice would be just go out there and do it. Like, don't be afraid. If you want to make something, make it. If you are inspired by someone, you want to talk to them, talk to them. Go and network, put yourself out there, do what you love. I think now there's no excuse to not do it.
Yeah.
And for example, all the Unity is free. Just go out there and make something awesome. And so that's my advice. I don't think there's any better time than now. So. Oh,
that's good. That's kind of been mirroring a lot of what people have been saying. I think the core message has been just make a game. Just make a game. If it's the most simplest game in the world.
Excuse.
But thank you so much for talking to us today.
Problem.
Thank you for coming and talking at Game Anglia, for taking the interview. And if this video has been useful, then please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with another interview very soon.